I came back out on the road in '05 hauling military loads for our troops. I was driving that Black Pete on the cover of my Reality of Trucking CD. I just loaded at Marine Corps Logistics there in Barstow off Daggett Road, and I was pulling an RGN at the time, known to a lot of you drivers as a double drop. I had 12 crates in the well of my trailer, and each crate only weighed 1,030 pounds. And what they were tents going to Charleston, and they were going to be put in the air, and they was going to fly them to Iraq. And as I was dropping down the hill into Needles, I heard this other driver on one of them big radios arguing with a couple other drivers. I didn't think nothing of it. I went ahead and crossed the river into Arizona, and there's always a big feeling of relief when you cross that river and knowing you made it out of California just one more time. I was just cruising along with that big 12,000-pound load I had. I was climbing that little hill just before you get into Kingman when this chicken hauler came around me. I gave him my lights to let him know he can go ahead and come back over. Well, when we got up on top of the hill and was coming up to the TA there at the 48, he got on the radio and said, "Any of you drivers going eastbound, you need that front door. If you think you can keep up with me, come on, let's go." Well, that's when I noticed the guy on the radio was that big radio I heard coming down the hill over there at Needles. Well, as we were going by the TA, he said it again. "Any of you drivers going eastbound, if you need that front door, think you can keep up with me, come on, let's go." Well, I'd heard enough, so I just had to grab that mic. And I said, "What are you trying to say, driver? You think you got a fast truck or something?" He come back and said, "I know I got a fast truck." Well, that Black Pete I was driving had a 550 Cat in it, 18 gears with 355 rears, and was wide open. The driver that had it before I did, it was on the computer that he'd had it up to 126 miles an hour a couple times. Now, I never really was a triple-digit driver, and to me that's just way too fast to be going down the road with all that weight. But with my load only weighing a little over 12,000 pounds and my trailer riding less than a foot off the ground, I figured, what the heck. So I came back and I told that driver, I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do, driver. I'll bet you $100 bill you can't get up alongside my truck and tell me the name on the side of my truck." First thing he said, "Where you at?" So that's when I told him, hell, I was up here at the 51. I just went by the Flying J. And he said, "You got any protection?" And I kind of laughed and said, "Oh yeah, I got all the protection I'm gonna need, driver." So that's when he said, "Okay, I'm coming up there." And that's just what he did. He came on up there. I mean, he came on up there all the way across Arizona and then some. He'd run up on them other trucks and say, "Is this you?" And them other drivers would say, "No, I ain't him." Or I'd say, "No, that's not me, driver. Ain't nobody around me. Come on up here." Now, I've been through Flagstaff hundreds of times through the years, but I will have to say that day was the fastest I'd ever gone through Flag. Well, it just so happened when we went through Flag, we passed a couple other chicken haulers, and they seen me on the mic and figured out what I was doing. So one of those drivers told that other driver he's running with, he said, "Go down there to that other one." Well, I flipped through the channels and found out what channel they went to. I went down there and told him to fall in behind me and that I was going back up to 19, but just don't say nothing. Well, anyway, make a long story short, we gone from the 48 to the 359 in right at 3 hours. So we pull into the scales there at the 11-yard line there in New Mexico, and they got those real long ramps, and this guy was 2 trucks in front of me. And anyway, he made it through the scales, and he got back on the radio and said, "Where you at now, driver?" Then I grabbed my mic and said, "I just went through the scales, and I'm back out here on the big road." And he said, "I'm fixing to catch you now." Well, I just made it through the scales, and he'd ran up on another truck and said, "Is this you?" And that's when I reached up there and I turned that mic gain down on that Connex 3300 to make it sound like I was further away from him. And I said, "Driver, I gave you the whole state of Arizona to catch me and you couldn't do it. Now I just can't drag my feet anymore. I got to go." I'm going by the 16-yard line right now here at the Gallup Get-Off, so better luck next time. Well, it just so happened when I did get up there at the 16, he was down there at the bottom of the ramp, turning left, getting ready to go under the bridge to go to the TA or Love's. As he was going under the bridge, I went right over the top of him. I reached up there and I turned that mic gain back up all the way. And I grabbed that mic and said, you know, if you chase another truck all the way across the state of Arizona and not even realizing that driver was behind you the whole time, you're probably a chicken hauler. Now, I don't know if that driver said anything, because right after I said that, one of those other drivers behind me grabbed his mic just laughing his ass off and said, Ray, I knew that was you the whole time right after we left Flag. So we all pulled into the Pilot there at the 39. Those drivers bought my dinner. I had them laughing so damn hard they was crying. And the hell of it was, that driver didn't even have a fast truck. The only time he did triple digits was going down the hill. And I ain't never had so much fun. Now I'm back out. I ran a few loads for old Stubby, old Joey out of Sepulpa hauling crushed cars. We were hauling crushed cars out of Wichita, down there at Midlothian, down there at Chaparral Steel, just south of Fort Worth. And he told me I was going to be driving this Black Pete. Well, after I'd called Grandma and had her come down here to watch Ray while I went out on the road for a little bit, I went over to the yard and come find out I wasn't driving no Black Pete. I was driving this old KW, an old yard truck. But he told me I wouldn't be driving that truck or pulling that trailer very long, because first chance he got, he was fixing to get rid of them. Anyway, I'd got loaded up there at Wichita and I went on down to the plant, and I was sitting there on the runway. The gate was closed. Guess they's out of fluorescent paint. And old Joey's almost to the plant. He's coming through Fort Worth. They opened the gate, and I went around the horseshoe, got parked. Anyway, so when old Joey comes pulling in the scales on the inbound scales, I'm standing on the outbound scales. And I got my bag and my radio in my hands, and he's pulling on the scale, and he's looking over there at me, giving me the funniest look. So we both meet in the scale house at the same time. And the scale master, he gave me my scale ticket, and I just handed it to Joey, and he looked at it. He said, how in the hell am I getting paid for 132,000 pounds? I said, just step outside, I'll show you. I said, you remember you said you was gonna get rid of that truck and trailer the first chance you got? And I pointed up there and I said, look up there at the top of that conveyor. About that time, that KW, an old yard truck, fell down in the shredder. And right behind it was that trailer with that load still chained to it. And I ended up having to wait for Patrick to give me a ride home. Joey wouldn't even give me a ride back home. And I call that Black Pete.